this is Foster from The Wall again, and welcome to another episode of soon-to-be expired beer at The Wall. This is a segment, in case you're unfamiliar, where we are still in lockdown and we are drinking all of the beer that's about to go bad. And we're just going to talk about kind of what life is like during the last 6 months of lockdown and just comedy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My guest is Tera Kilbride. She's lovely. I'm glad that you came here. And fun fact, she doesn't drink beer. However, when I spoke to her was right after the last soon-to-be expired beer at The Wall, so I accidentally poured her one already.
Right.
So I would ask if you would like a beer, but you don't. However, it's about to go bad, so I guess I will drink your beer for you so we don't waste it.
Right. You should.
Do you want to cheers either way? We can cheers with the
I would
water.
love to cheers. For
Cheers.
the record, I still love being around drinking establishments quite a lot.
Me too. Me too.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for. How's it been? I mean, we haven't seen each other. We've seen each other for the last few
Right.
minutes here, but we haven't we haven't hung out. We haven't
No.
we've stayed in contact, but not too much. What are you been up to? You're doing online shows a lot right now, right?
I've been doing a lot of online shows. Yeah.
How are those? How is it with the? Because you're the first person I've spoken to
Who's done the?
who's been really into the online shows.
Right.
Because that's one thing I've always struggled with, and I've told other people this too.
Yeah.
Is that online shows are such a different
Yeah.
medium.
Right.
How does that work for you?
Right. Well, I mean, remember the first time that you got on stage as a stand-up comedian,
Mhm.
right? To get used to the energy of a live crowd and to get used to the timing and to get used to, your physical presence being on stage. It's the same thing for Zoom. So I think what a lot of people just fail to realize is you just got to do it a number of times in order to get comfortable.
Right.
So what's nice about the small shows is that there isn't that awkward delay often, like in the big shows. But there is, how is your presence? You're working with like a square like this big. What can you do with that square with your face? What can you do with the timing? And you can still observe people. Like if you have a show where it's like, you can see 12 squares, you can still engage and read people's reaction. It's just a different type of perception you need to put on and practice, I think.
Right. And are most of the audience members fellow comedians? Are they just audience members just trying to see what's that dynamic?
Yeah, it's been usually a mix. It's
Okay.
been usually a mix.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians trying on material because there's a lot of mics. For the book shows, it can be small audience members.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a nice mix.
Cool. And how? So I mean, what do you? Because you're writing a lot of material, I would imagine, right now. Especially if you're. I mean, anytime from my point of view, if I'm doing a lot of shows, I'm writing a lot of new material.
Mm-hmm.
So with online shows, I would imagine you're doing it too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find the joke writing is different for an online show than a live show, or do you think it's kind of similar?
No, I think it's kind of similar. I've been doing a mix of shows in the States and the UK, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So those have a different flavor, kind of like they do here for different international nights. So the UK flavor is a little different than some of the shows in the States, than some of the shows that are international. And so the writing's not necessarily any different, I don't think. I think you just get a lot more time to do it.
Yeah, and I would imagine too the different crowds, because I know here whenever we have a US heavy crowd, I tell all of my Texas jokes right away. When we have a UK, usually US or UK, but we have a German crowd, it's more about, the whole German Berlin Wall stuff and things like that. And you just, you see the crowd and you kind of react.
Yeah.
So it's probably good because you probably know where most of the people are coming from on the online shows, right?
Yeah, definitely. So there are some shows that are kind of like shows we're used to in English-speaking Berlin, where it's people from all over, people from Eastern Europe, UK, the States, all over, and then there's shows that are more US based, and I differ my set slightly when I'm doing say an all US show. I can make more references and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I've always found trouble with, and that was the worry that I had the first time I did stand-up comedy. Period. You asked me about that earlier, and that was because I have a joke about Chuck Norris, and I was worried that no one in Germany would know who Chuck Norris is.
Right.
And apparently he's well known enough where everyone knows who it is. And I had a German come up to me.
There you go.
And I told him that he was like, "Oh no, everyone knows Chuck Norris." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from the actual place, Texas Ranger, Texas."
Yeah.
I know I'm
There you
supposed
go.
to know that.
Yeah, you don't know. You get to test it. That's the thing, is you get to test it in those times. UK also has kind of like a silly vibe.
Yeah,
a little more storytelling, a little more silly.
UK's I've always found it fascinating because they have really in-depth you have the Ricky Gervais type show that he does because he does the extras in The Office, and it's really kind of hard-hitting and it's kind of introspective.
Yeah.
But then they have comedy where it's just like a man's dressed in a woman's clothing, and then
Right.
everyone laughs and thinks it's hilarious.
Right.
So you get both those sides.
Right.
And it's so funny that they have both.
I haven't seen that yet, but I have seen ones that are slightly more monologue-y, and like I don't know how to describe the flavor, but it can be, it can be a little more goofy. I've also seen some people do comedy magic, which is kind of fun.
I think Dave does. Dave Adams.
Really?
I think he
I
does.
didn't know that. Yeah.
I'm not sure because I heard that he was doing one. I think this was right before the lockdown ended, and I was trying to go see it once or something because I think magic is cool. Weirdly
It is
enough.
cool. It is
Like I
very
know it gets
cool.
a bad rap, but like
It's cool.
the performance is
Right.
awesome, and you know they're doing
Right.
tricks, but it's how well they do the tricks.
Exactly.
And so it's not like oh, fooled you. It's like, oh my, you are really good
Right.
at that thing.
Right.
And it's just, and then there's a performance on top of that.
Right. Yeah.
And then you have to be charismatic, otherwise it doesn't work.
Right. So there's the trick itself and how well you do the trick.
Yeah.
And then there's a certain amount of like charisma and pageantry.
Mhm.
And then, and if you picture like a traditional, magician, right? It's a little bit more ooh and ah, and it's like, it can be sort of one note. And when you
Yeah.
add the element of comedy, you can really subvert with people's expectations. I've seen it done really well. I've seen people just use cards with like writing and then throw the writing.
Yeah.
I've seen people use the camera to do the trick, and then they have some sort of persona who's maybe, like a sarcastic guy or whatever that they're bringing to the table, and it just adds a whole other layer. I think it's been really fun.
No, it is. It's yeah. No, I always think when like people like the stereotype of magician is almost like the stereotype of like stand-up comedy.
Right.
Or just comedian or clown or mime or whatever you want to call it is, like 50, 60 years ago that might have been true. Nowadays, everyone kind of realizes that's what the stereotype is.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everyone actually doing it is
Yeah.
like, no, we're
Yeah.
not that anymore.
Right.
There's a bad stereotype.
Yeah, it's fun to see it evolve.
Yeah.
It's really
yeah.
fun.
But yeah, hopefully I can watch some stand or some magic comedy. I'm guessing magic comedy doesn't translate as well on the online shows though.
I've seen it. I've only met 2 comedians doing it, and they're both fantastic. But they
Okay.
have a very particular persona and
Yeah.
a very particular niche they're working with, and they've really developed it, and it's delightful. I don't know if it's like its own genre. I'm guessing probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's also a Zoom bomber.
A Zoom what?
Well, I had what I thought was a Zoom bomber, who I actually think was a comic, because what happened was
What is a Zoom bomber?
that's when they come onto your online show and they don't have the intention of being an audience member. They have intention to stir trouble. So I've seen it happen like.
I've heard that before. I think
Yeah.
Anna told me about that last week or something.
Yeah. They can do really nasty shit, but in our case, it was someone who I think wanted to sign up for the mic, and all of a sudden I saw the screen turn on, and it was this puppet. And what it looked to me was this little floaty, creepy puppet head, and what I thought I observed, which I don't think happened, was it looked like a little Chucky doll, but I think I was just so shocked to see like a floating doll head with like a screw in its eye. It wasn't. It was just a comic who had a puppet, and but how do you enter a show late with
Puppet
a puppet?
comedy, I don't think is at the level. I think that's still the stereotype.
Right. And,
I think it's still-
and if you have the awkwardness to show up to a show slightly late and just have your puppet in, I get awkward. We all know that like I can get awkward, which is the name of my new mic I'm promoting. This could get awkward.
This could get awkward. You style it up. Perfect.
But the puppet was like next level. I'm not sure if this person's trying to stir up trouble or just be an audience member. So I only had to deal with that once. I booted the person out.
I was about to say, can't you just mute and that's the end of it? Or
You
no?
can just shut off the camera. You can mute them. And then you spam their Facebook privately, but that's what I do with anyone I don't like. So
Awesome. I'm really happy that you have not done that to me yet.
yeah,
It's because I have the comic club. So.
right. You have things I need. So.
That's fine. It's okay. That's why I'm not on your show.
Right.
But no, I had because like one of the things that I've kind of missed from the comedy stuff is just kind of the hang after the shows.
Yes.
Is that still there, like with the online? Is that with the German scene? Is that with more scenes as well?
Well, the nice thing is you can do like a lot of shows a day. Sometimes I do it at like 5 p.m., 7 p.m. Because I don't have friends. No, but I have met a few mics where I actually there's one mic in particular that it's a women's mic on Saturday nights, and I've met I met someone who was like been on like a late night show. I've met women who have been they're like the organizers in Chicago, and we have stayed up late and talked for like an hour and a half afterwards, and to be able to have that type of connection with like people who are running shows in a different demographic, and we talk about everything. We talk about jokes. We talk about I don't know. it was really needed during the lockdown to have that type of long, depth conversations that were just hilarious and fun and cool and yeah, the hang.
No, that's what I like about, just hanging out with comedians as well. If you're looking to get into the comedy scene, I highly recommend it. Because no, everyone, like, most of the people's goals are to have a fun conversation and have fun and be funny and just, it's just, when you're there with just a bunch of people kind of doing the same thing. I mean, the thing that we have in common is that we like telling stories that we think are funny and we think other people will find funny.
Right. And there's been a lot of encouragement too. There's definitely mics where you can type in the chat. This is one that's a good use of the chat. Type a tag into the chat if you have a tag. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing opportunity just to get live, immediate feedback. So there's that type of camaraderie amongst people. There's definitely like we're all in this. We all know what it's like to try to write and make things funny. Like you were saying, we all recognize it sucks when it goes wrong. And there's also just the mentorship too. Like the women that I met are have 10, 20 years on me, and it's like, oh, cool, now I get to meet these people that are, have that level of experience. But yeah. No,
I'm glad you brought that up because I know that our intern Natalia asked once because she's curious. I think the first 2 interviews we did were with men, and then we started interviewing women as well, just because we're trying to get we want to get everyone's perspective, not just on comedy or the lockdown, just where your comedy comes from. Mm-hmm. But what's that been like, with women's shows in general, just being a woman in comedy? Have you noticed that there's a noticeable difference that you think there is, or just kind of
between like a women's mic and like a mic for everyone?
Maybe like that. See, yet again, I'm speaking out of ignorance. I'm a straight white male, so I'm just kind of the
Why'd you ask that question, Foster?
That's a very good question.
Did you just call me a female comedian? Because I like to call them comedians and male comedians.
Okay.
But that's
you're a comedian.
That's the new lingo, and if you're not on board, probably should be running the Comedy Club 2021. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. You're one of the most sympathetic, warm, supportive people I've met, and that's a totally valid question. I think there's just like certain material that I've even actually written into my set because I'm working on like a 20 to 30, and I write certain tags or transitions, and I put a big asterisk next to them that say only do in women's rooms or don't do in conservative places. And it's just like you have your baseline, your structure of your joke. If we're just talking content.
Yeah, no, it was more the experience as well.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of all that because I mean, yet again, I'm just my only goal is to get your perspective and just understand kind of where you're coming from. If there's a difference between
I don't know, the women's nights that I've been doing. There's just one per week, and it's always just been very warm. But I've also been working with women that have like. It's a good mix of experience too, from beginner to like professional, and so they've just been wonderful, right? I mean, I know that there are some rooms that are just like, come on, come all, we're like a little timid, it's definitely like a safe space, and those have like a place, especially if you're really, really new and you need like a certain amount of like, I know this is going to be very safe for me, and
right.
I guess the night I was talking about, had a good mix of level, and it was just very warm and very. Yeah, robust. And then the other mics I've been doing, it just depends on the day. It just depends on the day and where people's minds are at, I guess.
Yeah.
There's some more.
It seems kind of like that seems kind of like normal. Just mics in general is you get different crowds sometimes there. I just know there's some comedians I know who only talk about drugs, and then when there's like a crowd that's a bit older maybe or maybe a little bit more conservative, and then they just keep talking about drugs, and I'm like, dude, the stuff that you talk about that's not about drugs does really well. Yeah, I have a comedian friend that I met online who his whole thing is like everything's shit, I don't really care, and he has some really poignant. He has a lot of one-liners, and he's very good, and he's very dark, and he comes off as kind of an asshole, and that's a stick. Yeah.
And I've seen him do really well, and I've seen him just bomb. And that's just because he's holding so hard to what his thing is.
Right.
And so it just depends on the energy of the mic. And I run a mic. Did I mention I run a mic? This could get awkward.
I think you did once or twice. We're trying to put it on here. We're trying to find a slot, but it's just difficult.
But I do keep my mic where I'm just like, come one, come all. I'm gonna book people, and just please don't punch down is my thing. It's not everyone's thing, but I just say please try. Like take risks, but also just please try. And his dark stuff works super well on the show that he booked for whatever reason, and people were very open to it, and so
Yeah, I think the punching down thing versus punching up, I think two things. I think one is, like if you look at what punching down was 40 years ago versus what punching down is now, I don't know if it's changed, but I think it might have a bit. I think there's one group that you would be punching down at today that you weren't punching down 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and I'm not saying that you should punch down. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's a really tricky situation just in general because.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I like South Park's methodology the most, and generally what they do, and generally what I do whenever I do comedy, is I try to make fun of myself first, push myself down, and then, you know, and not in a maliceful way whatsoever, then everyone's kind of fair game. Is, hey, we all screw up occasionally, we all do things that are silly, and that's that. And let's just all agree that we do that. And if you can't agree with that, then why are you at a comedy show?
Right. Yeah, and it's like people know kind of like who you are, like if you earn the audience's trust and you kind of have some sort of stance, whatever that is, I think it's easier to then,
Because I was thinking about that the other day, especially because, I mean, yet again, people get in trouble now for things they've said 20 years ago, and I'm like, well, when they said it 20 years ago, it's a different climate, but like, if you said that today, or if you still believe that today after learning a bunch of stuff, then I agree with you. And if they're walking it back, it's just kind of, it's a weird thing. And so it's just, that's you know, I don't know what I'm saying. I always get in trouble with this stuff, and then I talk more like I'm doing now, and it's always fun.
That's good. I mean, I think just people, you know, should take risks, and also people should be willing to grow, and I think that's like a definite invitation. Both those things are true.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think that if you say something that someone gets mad at, it should lead to a conversation.
Right.
And if everyone's willing to talk
versus
and
digging
like
your heels in. I mean, that just goes with humor too. Like, if you dig your heels into a joke that like no one's finding funny, then you know it's like why? Like,
no. I mean, the whole point of telling a joke, the number one joke, is to make everyone in the room feel better than they were before they heard the joke.
Right, and not feel crappy about themselves.
And if everyone in the room hates what you just said, then you're probably A, not doing a very good job.
Right. Yeah.
And B, you're not taking the feedback that they're giving you right now, which is kind of a big part of it.
Right, totally. Or maybe you just don't know the point of the thing, or you're like, oh, I'm trying to be edgy, but I don't know what your point is. So just keep figuring out what that is. Cool.
Yeah, well, we're running out of time now. We're supposed to cheers and finish the rest of the drink. That's how we finish this.
I'm going to want to see you down that in a couple gulps, Foster. I think you can do it.
Do you think I can do it?
See, I'm still former bartender, so I'm still a pusher, even though, you know, I don't...
Even though I'm paying for this.
You are paying for this.
Actually, no, sorry, I paid for it already.
Yeah.
But it's soon to be expired. You can tell the fact that it's still barely fresh.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll cheers. I will do my best. It might work, it might not. Either way, cheers to the lockdown. Actually, the lockdown is probably, by the time you guys are watching this, I think the lockdown's going to be gone. And she might actually have her show coming at the Wall either Friday or Saturday. We haven't decided yet, but we're trying to fit a time in on a weekend because it's better. But we're going to try to have, this could get awkward.
Yeah, and it might.
This might get awkward.
And your
I'm
beer
stalling.
Your beer drinking might also, I think Foster, what he's trying to say is that the beer drinking might get awkward, and we're going to watch you do it.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll do it, and we'll have an awkward silence while we do it. Just stare at me. While I just I don't. Cheers.
Wow, that wasn't awkward at all. It was fairly smooth. No.
Here's what was hilarious. I was thinking about smashing this like I would in college if I were to do this, but then I realized I paid for the glass too, so I can't do that. I was thinking about doing a whole "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia," smash the bottles.
You should get You should get breakable glass.
No, I shouldn't, because then we have to clean it up.
Oh, but no, not real glass, like the prop glass.
We still would have to clean it up.
Okay, I'm trying to dream big, Foster. Work with me.
Okay.
You're gonna have a big budget soon.
Yes, we're gonna have a big budget soon.
We can do these things.
We don't have a sponsorship lined up for this one, and we don't have a
If you
teaser.
happen to sponsor Breakable Glass or be a Breakable Glass company, and you're watching at home and you're like, you know what, I would like to be a part of a growing comedy community, you should probably get in touch with your guy here, Foster.
I don't want to do that because it's like in Texas. I don't know. Thumbs up.
They do that in Texas?
I don't know. I was thinking finger guns, and I was like, finger guns are terrible. And then I was like, Texas as well, and I was like, that's probably not a good thing.
Texas Longhorns? No.
I can, but my mother, brother, and sister went to University of Texas, and I didn't because I was the rebel.
Thumbs up's pretty safe, you know. But I also teach children, so what do I know?
Let's do it. Well, this was Foster and Tera Kilbride,
Yes.
and this was soon to be expired beer that is no longer soon to be expired because they got drunk.